Teague here. Thanks for coming into the live stream. This live stream, we're going to talk about scales, but specifically 3 notes per string scales. I'm just going to move this box a little bit so I can see the chat. If anybody's anything to say. Oh, plus I need to stop this. Okay, we're good. So there's a link in the description that you can get the material to go with this lesson. It'll just be like the fretboard graphs and a jam track and a few things to play along with. But basically what we're doing here is we're going to look at a C major scale in 7th position, but we're going to specifically talk about alternate picking versus natural picking and playing a scale with 3 notes per string. Because depending on how many scales you've learned and played, some scales will have us going like 2 notes per string, then 3, then 2 again, then 2, then 3. This combination of 2 and 3 notes per string, which is totally fine too. But I'm going to show you kind of a couple cool things about practicing 3 note per string scales. Okay, so let's jump in. So if you're on that page, again, the link is in the description to get to that page. You just have to register. It's free, but it gets you into the material. It gets you a whole bunch of other stuff too, but it gets you the material. So here's where we're going to start. We're going to start on our 6th string. We're going to play in the key of C essentially. The jam track that I have on the page and that I was playing along with there is over a G7, a dominant chord. So in which case we would call this a Mixolydian sound. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But for right now, and if it looks like I just woke up, I did just wake up. About 15 minutes ago. Okay, so we're gonna go 7th fret, 8th fret, and 10th fret. It's giving us a B, a C, and a D. Okay, so 7th fret. I know you can't see because of my nuts way over here, but trust me, that's the 7th fret. My guitar does not have a 3rd fret dot, so there's my 5th fret. There's my 7th. So we're starting on the 7th fret. Okay, then we're going to play the 8th fret and the 10th. It's giving us a B, a C, and a D. Hey, Dwayne. Morning. Nice to see you. Play Let Her Go. Yeah, that's about a year ago. I think I did that cover, and I'm not even totally sure, Dwayne, if I could play it right now. I probably could with a little bit of practice. Shoot. No, I also would need a capo. And I don't have one, but hey, Dwayne, maybe when I get through this material, I could give it a whirl for you. It'd probably be pretty rough. It's been a while. But let's for the moment we'll stay on our 3 notes per scale string. Forgot what we were doing. Okay, so we got a B, a C, and a D. So on the next string, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have E, F, and a G. So also the 7th fret, the 8th fret, and the 10th fret. So the beautiful thing so far about this exercise or this scale is it's going 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. So we're using the same fingering. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple things I'm going to talk about something that I used to practice a long, long time ago. Like the first year that I was at Berkeley, I spent a lot of time doing this because I wasn't really technically a very advanced player compared to some of the people around me. But anyway, so here's what we're going to look at, the difference between alternate versus natural picking. Okay, so we're going 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, right? 7, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10, giving us a B, C, D, and E, F, G. And anybody who's been following some of my other live streams or have been on musiclearning.com on the site and are familiar with my teaching method, I spend quite a bit of time focusing on knowing where B and C's are and E and F's are. And I use Bert and Ernie to help us remember that. Because on the fretboard, B and C are always side by side, as are E and F are always side by side. Every other alphabet letter, though, is a whole step. Right, so if I have to go A to B, I have to skip a fret, but that B to C is a half step. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. If I alternate pick this, I'm going down, up, down. When I get to that 5th string, I would have to go up. Right, down, up, down, up, down, up. So I'm just alternate picking. So down, up. I'm just going to stay on these 2 strings for a moment. Down, up, down, up. So I'm going down, up, up, but right, I'm alternate picking, but I'm just saying when I switch the strings, okay? If I were to natural pick it, also known as economy picking, I would go down, up, down. My pick would then continue down. Right, can we see what's happening there? So down, up, down, down, up, down. The thinking behind economy picking or natural picking is if the pick is already headed in a direction, it continues in that direction. Now, this is a big debate among guitar players and has been since I can ever remember, like whether you should alternate pick or natural pick or economy pick, whatever. Natural picking or economy picking kind of called the same thing. There really isn't from my experience as a guitar player in a lot of musical situations and having taught for a lot of years, I don't really think there is one. I think it's whatever works for the situation, whatever works for you. Like, for example, for me, for probably a decade of my playing, I economy picked that. I found it easier to go down, up, down, down, up, down. So I'm always picking the same thing on every string. But years later, you know, I switched to alternate picking for whatever reason. I don't know why. Anyway, so now I have a tendency to alternate pick it. Okay, so I want to show you, here's why I love this particular exercise. Oh, I'll continue one thing before I go any further, because I was saying about my first year at Berkeley, I used to spend a lot of time just working on exercises like this. So instead of, if I wasn't very familiar with my scales, instead of kind of making my head hurt trying to think of the scales and what notes were in the scales, I would just go 1, 2, 4 all the way down the fretboard. And at that time, I was practicing the economy picking, so I was going down, up, down, down, up, down on every string, right? So I was always going down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, like this. But then, you know, years later, I kind of switched to alternate picking, so I'm going down, then up, down, up, down, up. Remember, we said there's not really a right or wrong. It's just whatever, you know, you want to work on. Whatever's coming easier for you now. Ideally, we would get equally good at both. That would be like the best case scenario. But, you know, there's a lot of stuff to practice, so we have to constantly kind of choose, you know, what works for us. Okay, so then that first year again, what I would spend a lot of time doing is I would go 1, 3, 4. Again, not a scale. I'm just playing the exercise. So now I'm working my 1st, 3rd, and 4th finger, and then I would go 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. Now remember, we're just staying with 3 notes per string here at the moment. Well, it was typed. That's what we're working on here. But you could do 4 or 2, which are obviously good exercises too. Okay, let's come back into the scale now. So again, the content, the information, the fretboards and stuff are the link below. Will give you the material to go with it. So we're going 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, starting on the 7th fret. This is my 7th fret here again, right? Remember, you have to trust me there. It's hard to tell because of the but. So it gives me a B, C, D. Then an E, F, G. Then I'm going to my 4th string. Now I'm going 1, 3, 4, because that's going to give me an A, B, C. And look, there's my B, C right here between, yeah. And then I'll do the same thing on my 3rd string, E, F, G, B, C, D, E, F, G. So look what we've done. We still have 3 notes per string, but I had 2 strings that had me working on 1, 2, 4. Let me tuck this one away so we can see. Had me working on those 3 fingers, and then I had one that had me working on these 3 fingers, right? So it's like a great finger exercise, but we're also learning a scale, which is an important part of music, both for training our ear and learning the fretboard and improvising and writing. Really, it's kind of the cornerstone of music theory, really, is understanding scales, because we'll learn that chords, and that's tomorrow's live stream, we learn that chords are just part of scales. Actually, maybe that's next week's live stream. I think tomorrow's live stream is on dominant 7th chords and inversions, which is a little more advanced for anybody that wants to do that. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, why am I not starting on C? You can totally start on C. And actually, it will end on C if you stop on that pinky on the 4th string. But we're playing all of the notes in the key of C in this position, 3 notes per string, so we can work on some very specific technique. Then we're moving forward here now. And again, this is so we can stay 3 notes per string. There are different ways to play the scale, but the purpose here, again, 3 notes per string. We're moving to the 2nd string. We're now going 8, 10, 12. So now look what we have. We have 1, 2, 4 again, which is how we started the exercise, but with these 2 whole steps, these 2 stretches. And the reason I'm doing this exercise in the key of C is because I'm higher up the neck. It's not as bad as like trying to do those stretches back there. And we'll do the same thing on the 2nd string. So it gives us a G, A, B, and a C, D, E. So altogether, I have this whole set of notes in the key of C or A minor. They're relative to one another. And I'm going 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4 in 7th. 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, still in 7th. Shifting forward, 1, 2, 4, except I'm doing whole steps. Yeah, and now I'm going to concentrate. I'm going to go my 6th string down, up on my 5th string. So 6, I'm going down, up on my 5th, down on my 4th, up on my 3rd, down on my 2nd, up on my 1st. Isn't that cool? So I was using that to play over a jam track, and again, there's a jam pack on the page, so follow the description. But if you with the jam track, I would work along playing with like here. I'll just throw it on for a minute. I don't know how well you can hear that, but I would work quarter notes, which would be pretty easy, right? 8th notes. Triplets. Sixteenth notes. Anyway, hopefully you can kind of hear that jam track. Otherwise, that probably didn't make a whole lot of sense. So, and you can see I'm just kind of going up and down. I stayed mostly with 16th notes there, but stick with whatever rhythm pattern that is working for you. And the very last thing I'm going to do with this, we're going to keep this live stream on the short side here today. So when I went 8, 10, 12 here on 1st and 2nd string, then I shifted up to 10th position to go 1, 3, 4 again to give me 10, 12, 13. Still in the key. It's giving me an A, B, C, D, E, F. And still 3 notes per string, so I'm still following the same picking rules. Then I'm moving up to 12th position to go 12, 13, 15. And I'm back to 1, 2, 4. So look at all the finger combinations we had here between this one scale. We started with 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4 in 7th position, right? 7, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10, giving us a B, C, D, E, F, G. We moved to the 4th string to give us A, B, C, D, E, F, which was 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. Then we move to the second string to give us this 1, 2, 4, but with the stretches. So we're going 8, 10 to 12, and then 8, 10 to 12 again on that first string. So G, A, B, C, D, E. Right? And then we said if we shift up to the 10th fret, we can go back to 1, 3, 4. We're still in the key of C / A minor, whatever you want to call it. 1, 3, 4, giving us A, B, C, D, E, F. 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 13. Moving into 12. 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. If we wanted to go further, it's getting a little rough on an acoustic, but we would now be back to this same shape that we had here with the stretches. We would go 13, 15, 17. I'm using 1, 2, 3 now because I can't really get my pinky around there. And I could do that again. And again, that whole time, I've kept that 3-note per scale, or 3-note per string thing, right? Neat. So the practicing scales can't be on. Hey, Brandon again. I'm glad you dropped in again. I'm actually keeping this one rather short. I'm going to be out in just a moment. I mostly just wanted to get some material up for the members part of the site, and I thought I would live stream it that way. If anybody was in here and had any questions about scales, and this one in particular, which was 3 notes per string, but yeah, it's been rather quiet. So I'm basically just going to pump some material up. I may actually redo this and make it into a lesson instead of a live stream, because then I can have the jam tracks part of the thing, and so it would sound better. So I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure. How are you today, though? You off to work today? Oh, I should say one other thing for anybody who is on that page with the content. There is one other thing in that content. At the very bottom of the page, I did add a 3-note per string D major scale in the same position. Just because the last live stream we were talking about the key of D a little bit and having 2 sharps, so I thought if this might be a good place if we're like, okay, here's our key of C, and in the same position, these would give us the notes for the key of D, and that can also be 3 notes per string. It's a little bit different though. But anyway, that's down at the bottom of the page if anybody wants to move into the key of D. And on that page, no. On the new improvising page though, there's going to be a jam track. Oh, I'm trying to remember where I put that. I've been so busy working on the site, I sometimes can't remember now where I put stuff. If I put it in the member section or if I put it in the limited access member. Anyway. So, but I'm gonna close this up here now. Hopefully you can have a little bit of fun with that. It's practicing a scale. It's concentrating on alternate or natural picking, both very important. And yeah, and then tomorrow I'm gonna live stream again. And then I'm not live streaming till next week a bit, but tomorrow I'm going to live stream and I'm going to talk about inversions of a dominant 7th chord on strings 1, 2, 3, 4, which will be a little bit more advanced for somebody who's played a little bit, but it'll be fun. It actually should probably work fairly well with this jam track. Oops. Again, I think the problem there is that may not be very easily heard that. Anyway, I'm going to sum it up there. I'm going to say thanks for you guys for coming in and watching, and I'm going to close this up. I'll be in the chat for a moment if anybody wants to continue the chat. But again, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe. Check the link below for the material.